When it comes to love, people often think of love in attachment male-female, or praise the beauty of human depth. The reunion between Kyo Kim important in the story of Kyo Nuyen Do poetry, its destiny. Even though they both have the word love, the love is not strong. And the lady. Love is so strong that it only has one side. In the book Mindfulness DUYên, a book of song life, has a sentence: blessed with the power of reciprocity, unfortunate to face the feng discord. It means that even if you are 1,000 miles away, you will meet. The future has no grace. Even in front of me, I can't understand. Still dissimilar feng. Love rarely stands alone. It's often paired with another word to express the content of the word grace, as the grace of grace is ungraceful. Or at least it has to be twins. Vietnamese grammar is called spire's charm. New in Italian too. Living the lives of the Vietnamese people. When chewing betel nut for fun, there is also the word grace to see each other's personalities. Have the grace to eat purple betel. It means eating red betel nut. It's not red. Poet Nguyen Du, author of the immortal Kyo, also talk about grace in his life's work. Light as heavy as lead. Let go of what is grace. From the above examples, we have a definition. So grace is formed by conditions. It's the word grace of the world with a few examples. And the grace of the Buddha. Today's video will be called SAO. Here, we all know you. The Buddha's teachings, it's all the world's unbreakable teachings. To enlighten the world. So the Buddha immediately used the word grace of the world as a vehicle from which to form a profound doctrine. The doctrine of dependent origination. This is one of the most important teachings of Buddhism. But both sides, Mahayana and Subyanas, are both willing to practice. Because dependent origination is the truth that opens up Buddhism, so dependent origination is the source of Buddhist teachings. Because there was the birth of organ law, canon and treatise. This doctrine, discovered by the Buddha at the time of enlightenment, the way under the Bodhi tree. You see the path of self-destruction and the cause and effect of all sentient beings in the dependent origination theorem. This tells us the truth of the four great empires. And cause and effect, in other words, the four precepts of dependent origination. The five noble aggregates are actually just one. Because dependent origination is presented by operation, the cause of ignorance is that humanity is the result. Consciousness is consciousness, and so on. He was born from sorrow and suffering, and the brain is the fruit. I see. The operation of ignorance is the operation of dependent origination, and it's always there for the 11 parts of dependent origination. Follow the chain of dependent origination to reach the enlightenment of the Buddha. That the Buddha himself had gone, has come to full accomplishment. So what is dependent origination? Let's listen to the Buddha's definition. There is a reason for ignorance. 2. Due to the fact that the onion has a sense of birth. There are 4 names and 6 births. Year by 6 animals imported, 6 animals born. 7. Due to the existence of the 8 reasons to have hatred. Ripened by mortal enemies. 10 reasons to be born. 11 born to death, old man. 12 by Lao Dao, born with grief and suffering. It's also called total innate suffering. This is called the beginning. 2 pages 1 and 2, respectively. This is the movement, the arising of all this suffering. It's called the 12, or 12 causes and conditions, led by the unknown. According to the Sutra of the beginning is summarized as follows. Because this one is present, this one is present. Because this is not present, the Kya is not present. This is what gave birth to this. Because this is destroyed, this is destroyed. So beyond the religious sense, it also means death. Learning concepts, any phenomenon that appears in this world. Everything has its cause. The presence of each of these phenomena. It's all about the complexity of relationships. There are relationships it can be perceived with normal senses. There is a relationship that requires logical reasoning to know. And there's also a subtle relationship that's hard to recognize, but the impact is not small. And its impact is very long-lasting. It's also those very small, subtle relationships that scientists later gave the name atom. That's how tiny the Kya atom is. But the Buddha saw it. Over 25 centuries ago. It shaped a life of color. The atomic particles, the Buddha's messenger brought to the people today. These are valuable messages. Gathering or scattering depends on the cause and effect. There will be no matter that exists independently. It's not combined with the surrounding conditions. By matter from the entity. It's like electric waves in space. And the nature of those waves has no substance. Because it's made up of thousands of particles. And so does the particle itself. And in the end it's impossible to find any existence. To call the first life. Or the last death. Because of all. It's all in combination with the reactions of compounds. Which the Buddha called dependent origination or dependent arising. That too. France is also born by chance, so it is not true. Thus the Buddha's realization of the truth of dependent arising has rejected the notion. All human behavior. They all have a predetermined cause vestibule. And if we accept that, people are always passive. You can't have any impact on your own life. So how can we have the social progress that we have today? And social progress will always operate in accordance with the truth of dependent origination, whether they appear or not. It is still charming now. As Lai is just an enlightened person. Then he opened the door and showed us. You know the truth. Existence is grace. You can't exist alone. It has to be compatible with everything. Mark says it's the sum of relationships. The Buddha's story, after deciding not to enter the nirvana. But back to the life of the birth rate educator. To start the birth rate. Before the Buddha from Bodhisattva to the Bodhisattva. The 5 brothers of Mr. Because you know these 5 have a crush on you. With superintelligence, perfect understanding. The Buddha always knew who had a crush on him. Their conditions are good. Or wait for the next life to teach. In this way the Buddha led the Indian step by step, to walk on the right path, take steps to build a healthy social life. Dharma wine script of the Buddha, or even the most profound way in the sutra. It's not just words. You don't have to sit in court to preach. It's about combining knowledge, to use it in all things. Because education is not based on reason. Buddhist students who are monastics have. Moral talent has power. To give to the godly. Let's make love together. Buddhist students are at home or monastics. Don't get me wrong. Was to cut off the environment of the evil seed. If there is no external force, you can't see the evil karma coming out. When the grace inside is still there, the grace within the Buddha's teaching is the physical Dharma. There are 5 things called the year of heaven. Outside the impact is 6. Flavor bar. Even though it is cut off, the Dharma still works. It's an inner activity called interiority, which is incredibly flexible. So for the wise man who's not afraid of outside action, but afraid of evil ideas arising, to direct his work. So the real practitioner, is to always be vigilant, with your own easy-to-see appearance. It's called the fake. The story of Dharma Body. In 520 he went to China by sea to spread the word, to Nanjing to meet the emperor. He explained the essence of Zen clearly, but the king could not understand. The fake of the emperor is built many temples to cast bells and statues in the Bible. Was explicitly stated by the Dalai Lama. It's a job without merit. Do you know? To meet people who are fortunate to spread the Dharma. And left to the north, across the Yangtze River to Luoyang, to the top of the mountain, 9 years facing the cliff, leaving the 9-year-old legend of bitch waiting for grace. To meet Hugh possibility 487 509 BA. Cho is in love. New practice of meditation, to continue the years of drunk strawberries. Lore illustrious throughout China. To the Qing dynasty only. Are Manchus in the minority? They are considered to be all CAI barbarians in central New Year. It is difficult for the Chinese to accept, but there's only foresight. The majority of Chinese are Buddhist. Buddhism is deeply embedded and has a great influence, and took refuge in Zhou Yulin. And people as national teachers should solve many difficult things. The king is a man who knows. Thuanji's son was King Kangyi, who reigned 65. Then Qianlong became king in the year 2. The king of this bar, the longest ruling dynasty in Chinese feudal history, because they know how to build power. They met the demands of the people at the time. That there's a Buddhist protection policy. In Buddhist sutras the most, and was Han Chinese, has the largest respectable population. On the way to see life. I can see the society I live in, to know the right application beneficial for life. This is the case of King Siam Sum in Cambodia. Pol Pot came to power. I don't want the shadow of the Buddha. They killed all the monks. In 25 intellectual monks, he was trained by the Chinese government. 24 decided to keep their robes. The monk's shirt should be killed by them. Only you, Sum, can see the disaster. He pretends to be a farmer to survive. To be respected by everyone, to be king. Then you applied the logic of karma. When should and should not. The doctrine of dependent origination, with the spiritual core of unchanging conditions. There are also many high rises in our country, as the pillar bed of Buddhism. The king is the rock of the nation. Like the reign of King Le Daiyong in 981.005. When the king asked how the nation would be sustainable, the French minister said that, like the southern paradise Lai Tai Bin, wireless residential power. The apostles are the executioners. Just note that the last two sentences mean morality in the palace. He is very evasive. It's the moral practice of government. The people in the palace, it's the main cause for unity. The classes of the masses, it is the solid foundation of the nation. To absorb these flowers, President Ho Chi Minh said simply that officers go before the water, village follow. If officials trust corrupt officials, appropriation of national territory, it's hard to stop people from doing the wrong thing. Hung Thin Buddhism at the time of the nails. The reason is that Zen masters have a deep understanding. The way to go through the Dharma. Already know the harmonious application of Dharma. It starts with people's lives. At the same time, help monks and nuns develop wisdom and ability. Serving life better. As in the life of the lawyer respected by the king for a long time. To form a life away from HOA, when Master Tao Tang realized, help the king to adjust. Bring peace to the country. The Emperor Tran Nan Tong. Depending on the country situation, you have corresponding jobs. adapted as, when I was king, when I was a monk, become a fully credible leader to rally. Touching those who have grace. Lead them in the direction, good for them and society. Ladies and gentlemen, the content of the word grace of the Buddha.